two biggest celebrations, my child started talking and then my child went potty. The levels of the child do not equal their readiness for potty training. Potty training is a biological and math equation.
Do not force your child to use the potty. Welcome to Parent Empowerment Coaching, and here we're going to equip you with the tools and the strategies you need for your child to thrive. And today we're going to talk about the big milestone, potty training. I know that's something that's on many parents' mind. Whether you are feeling overwhelmed, whether your child just doesn't really want to go to potty, or your child have trouble just in tell you when he or she is ready to go to potty, and you are in the right place. This episode will guide you through it all. And in this segment, we're going to talk about recognizing readiness and then overcoming common challenges. And then we'll end with some practical strategies. And today I'm here with Michael. Good morning, Michael.
Hello, Dr. Chen.
So we're going to talk about potty training. Can you just walk us through some of the kids come to your mind when we talk about the potty training?
Sure. And I think we just need to talk about the biggest elephant in the room. No one wants to do potty training. It is one of the most least fun activities. And I think we need to accept that, right? I mean, who wants to deal with the accidents and getting a kid on the potty and just all the things that take place? And so, of course, parents rush it. They don't like it. And that just adds more layers of frustration in the process. So let's just talk about kind of the experience, where we're coming from. And I think that will help to get some context. And then we'll talk about some scenarios too, about common things that we've seen. So in my career, in my 25 plus year career, actually the earliest part of my career, I spent a lot of time with potty training. So I'm happy that I don't have an exact number, but there's been dozens and dozens of kids through the years that we've been able to potty train at all different levels. So whether you have a child level 1, 2, or 3 with autism, all 3 can be potty trained. I like to say that the levels of the child do not equal their readiness for potty training. I've had kids that are fully verbal that struggle mightily with potty training, and I've had completely kids that we would define as more severe that are able to grasp it. So potty training is kind of like its own special puzzle that every parent and family need to figure out for their own child.
Potty training is something that is so stressful because I know several daycares, even in my neighborhood, they do not accept children who are not potty trained at a certain point of time. This is one of the reasons I think a lot of parents have to find a different daycare because the potty training issue.
Yes, and it's crucial. What happens when your child does not get potty trained? One, just like you said, they start to lose access to things like daycare. It becomes a big problem when they get to public school setting if they're not potty trained. And then even just a financial cost. As kids get 5, 6, and 7, those diapers start getting more and more expensive. And so that's why this is such a critical kind of issue that needs a lot of time, needs a lot of patience, but more importantly, you have to have a strategy. It's not just wake up one morning and decide this is the weekend we're going to do it. It needs to be very methodic. It needs to be very consistent to really get the success. And it can go slow, but when you get that done, we see it on social media, it's almost like this celebration. The two biggest celebrations that we see on social media, my child started talking and then my child went potty. And so that's why this is so important to grasp it as young as possible. I mean, when your child is young as possible, so that you can kind of scratch that off the list.
And then there's also kiddos who doesn't look like ready for potty training. What I mean by that, I've seen some kids have a meltdown when mom said, I need you to use the potty chair. Hey, time to go potty. Even the word potty has triggered a lot of behavior. And I wonder, in your career, what are some tips you can give to parents when seems like potty trigger a lot of problem behaviors?
It's challenging because a lot of kids don't know why they're there. Why am I there? Why is this seat so cold? Why am I almost falling in the potty? You took me from playing with my toy. Why am I naked right now? It's just all this confusion. And I don't think we do a good job of helping children. But you're right. There needs to be some prerequisites of children that are, okay, this child is ready to start the potty training process. And so one of them is just that your child is able just to stay dry for 1 to 2 hours at a time, meaning that their bladder just biologically can go in moments of using the restroom and kind of having delay. I think it's challenging when your kid is just having just lots of accidents, and lots meaning every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes. So I think that's one prerequisite that the bladder can do a good job, because that's important when we talk about, the preparation piece. Another one is when, if your child, especially in diapers, do they show discomfort or uneasiness when they're actually wet? And I think that's actually one of the big signs is, biologically speaking, we kind of realize for most kids, not all, but for most kids, like, dude, this sucks. I shouldn't be sitting in something that's wet or be sitting in something that's squishy. And so I think there's definitely an advantage there. But here's one big caveat. The diapers that they make, some of them are so absorbent,
Mm-hmm.
the child feels the squishiness for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then the feeling goes away. So this is where it gets hard. This is kind of odd. But sometimes I recommend parents not to get the best absorbent diapers when they start to do potty training. A human needs to know an accident has occurred for the behavior to change. And I think we need to make it easier. And that's the reason why when you do potty training, you take them out of diapers. Because now when they have an accident, I mean, it's just evident, like, oh crap. Literally, oh crap. I have to deal with it. So that's another big one, is kind of that discomfort and that noticing. And then the last one is starting to realize they start to show some interest, some, in what happens in the bathroom. So whether they're just, either just curious, they start to, there's other kids taking place, then I start to say you have some of the prerequisites that starts to make it where you can start to initiate potty with some measure of success.
And some of these are almost like the child body, like staying dry for 1 or 2 hours at a time. I can imagine it's very hard to train that. It's almost the child is not ready. In this case, potty training may not be appropriate.
Absolutely. So what we tell parents, potty training is a biological and math equation. And it's almost nothing else. Communication, but communication's a distant third. It is all about the biology, and then it's all about the ability to use math as your guide on when's the best time to sit them. And I think that takes all the frustration,
Mhm.
and as if parents are coming with all these other things going into it. But if you can really leverage the biology, because you don't have to have feelings to pee. You don't have to, your emotions could be in different areas to have a bowel movement. Once you extract all the fluff out of the way and focus on those two, I think that is one of the keys that helps you to see the progress as you're working through it.
Thank you so much, Michael. I think I want to summarize this for parents. If you're listening, I think this is very important. So basically, number one is potty training, part of it is biological. Do not force your child to use the potty if your child cannot stay dry 1 to 2 hours at a time. And forcing it may just backfire. And the second is, as Michael said, it's a math game, and tracking the time when your child use bathroom, when your child has a BM, and then so you can have a sort of like a rough estimate when your child need to use the bathroom. Like I think another question parents often talked about is like, actually the kiddo is very comfortable with diaper and with poop and pee in the diaper. And often it's when mom and dad smell something or the daycare worker smells something, that's when the child was prompted to use potty.
So nothing more frustrating when a kid is literally sitting there looking at you, and then you see the whole dribble go down their leg, and it's like you're right there. So yes, let's first kind of briefly talk that we do know that, especially if a child's on the autism spectrum, there may be some sensory issues. So it goes back to biology first. So if your child does have some sensory issues, that may be a factor. And so I think just working on the sensory toolkit is kind of also a good prerequisite. But let's kind of take that one off the table for now. I think it's really getting a child to know what the process of potty is, even if they're not fully potty trained. So for a lot of times, and it makes sense, the child has an accident and the parent's upset. So they're getting an earful, or the parent is just frustrated, or just all this extra chaos. There's actually no teaching of what is the natural potty process. So as soon as you notice the accident, and I think the sooner you notice, the better, it's to really initiate the full bit. So let's just take number two, because that's like the messier one, right? Kid has number two. It's for you to kind of verbalize, oh, you went, poo goes in the potty. And so that's why that keyword potty, or whatever word that you use. And then you want to, as you go change them, maybe when you go change them, take them over to where the potty is and change them there. Because what you're pairing is this is where, when you have this feeling, this is where you release this feeling. That's the biology that you're trying to tie. So you take them to the area, you go ahead and change them. And I like, if possible, it's kind of challenging, but you take the poop and just kind of flip it into the toilet, and then you flush it. See, poop goes in the potty. Bye. And you wave to it if you want to do that. And so what you're doing is building the chain. When you have this feeling, you go here. And of course, after you do that, you wash the kid's hands. And so I think it's repeating that process. It's trying to trigger that brain to say, okay, I have this feeling. This feeling gets released here in this area. I think that's where the missing gap. So if you're just changing the kid willy-nilly everywhere, you're missing out a great opportunity to complete that total chain of events and really smooth out the process, especially as you onboard potty training.
It's the consistency. It's the same routine every time. When I have pooped in my pants, mom take me to the bathroom area, or the teacher takes me to the bathroom area, and it tells me that poop goes to potty. And I think that's you're saying is the repetition of this routine, of this sort of like procedure when you had the have the accident, that kind of actually help a child to connect the two dots. Is my biological, what happened to me in my body, and then my environment. Oh, here I comes to the bathroom.
Thanks for watching. Are you ready for support? Look in the description below to book a free consultation call. We also have free downloadables from Parent Empowerment Coaching and our quest to help parents fight for 15 minutes. Stay empowered, stay informed. We'll talk again soon.